or are concerned about cancer for some of you. It's also soy we don't recommend for men because it increases estrogen levels in men, which is what we don't want. We want to increase your testosterone, not your estrogen levels. So even men have estrogen levels too. So that's one of the reasons why we don't recommend soy. All right, so that takes care of protein, and then basically trying to get a little bit of protein at every meal throughout the day. Okay, because it's very hard for the body to absorb everything at one time, so you get better results when you space it out and have it throughout the day. But starting in the morning, rather than having a bagel and cream cheese, that's not really adequate protein, you'll get far better results if you go with some liquid form of protein in the morning. Okay? Or if you're doing eggs, let's say soft-boiled eggs, for instance, are better absorbed or sunny side up than eggs that are in an omelet form or scrambled. So that's another, that's another thing to think of when you're consuming eggs. And then if you keep the egg yolk soft, you don't have to worry about cholesterol. That's the other advantage. Because it's breaking up the egg yolk, exposing it to oxygen, which actually impacts cholesterol. Yep. So that's another thing you can keep in mind. So don't worry about cholesterol in eggs if you keep the egg yolk intact. Okay, so it's the whipping up of the egg yolk that makes it more likely to oxidize, and that's when you start having problems with cholesterol. Okay, good. All right, so moving on to starches. Okay, so we keep hearing so many different theories that if you need to lose weight, you have to avoid starches or carbohydrates, follow an Atkins diet. And it is true for some people, the Atkins works really well. The concern, though, long term, is that it really can put a lot of stress on the kidneys. The one organ of the body that does not do well with a lot of protein are the kidneys. So for that reason, it's important to have a balance between protein, carbs, and fats in the diet. So what I usually recommend is really focusing on the healthier types of starches. So instead of having white rice, go for the brown rice or the red rice or the black rice. There's so many different rices now. And the imported rices have a much higher mineral content because the soil that they're grown on is much richer. So you're actually getting a lot more minerals in the rice from a lot of the imported rices.
Does it matter where it's imported from?
Does it matter? Actually, good question, not at all. So it could be from South America, it could be from Asia, Indonesia, Bhutan, there's Bhutanese rice, which is a red rice. So any of those would be fine. So the less processed the carb, okay, the less likely you are going to have a problem with weight gain and affecting your blood sugar levels too. And then you also get the added benefit of fiber because you need fiber in the diet to keep regular. So that really makes a big difference. If you really don't like any of the other, types of rices, if you really insist on having white rice, then the healthiest white rice is what we call basmati rice. Okay, and basmati, yeah, and the basmati rice doesn't affect blood sugar as much, and it's less likely to affect weight. And then other healthy carbs would be, for instance, a sweet potato as opposed to a regular potato. Yes?
Is that basmati rice you can find at any store?
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, and never get a rice that's quick cooking or 1 minute cooking rice, or 10-minute cooking rice. The longer the rice needs to cook, the healthier it is. Okay, because there's a lot more nutrition to that. So that makes a huge difference. And then it's a more complex carb. Are you all familiar with what we mean by complex carbs? Okay, that your body, they take a longer time to get absorbed into the body, okay, but they help build up glycogen stores in muscles so that you actually have more sustained endurance and energy when you're exercising. So that really makes a huge difference. The other, and pasta, talking about pasta for instance, like brown rice pasta would be better than doing a semolina pasta. Semolina pasta is made from white wheat. Okay, so and then there's now pasta made from lentils. There's pasta now made from quinoa. Okay, so millet. So there's many different types of pastas that are made from other grains. And those would be a lot healthier than having the traditional semolina pasta. So it's not like you can't have your starches. You can. It's just the quality of the starch that you're eating really makes a big difference, a huge difference. And just making these simple changes with your diet, you'll start to see that you start to drop weight as you incorporate it along with a really healthy exercise program. Okay, and now we can come to the other handouts. This is an excellent article that I came across that I wanted to share with all of you. It's called Are Toxins Fattening? And this really explains why some people really just have a hard time losing weight no matter what they do, and they don't know why. And one of the reasons behind that is the fact that, we're exposed to so many chemicals in our food supply. So another reason to avoid foods that have been loaded with pesticides and herbicides, because what happens is that puts a lot of stress on the liver. And the more stress you put on the liver, then the liver has an inability to process fats. Okay, and it goes on overload, and that will inhibit weight loss. Okay, because as you're losing weight, as you break down body fat, a lot of that gets passed through the liver. The liver has to process all that. So it's really, when you have time, this is an excellent article on toxins and chemicals and why people sometimes need to clean out their liver in order to see really good results with weight loss. So that's a great article on toxins. And then actually right underneath that, I had a really visual handout on the liver, like how the liver actually goes through a whole detox process. Okay? And basically, if you look in the middle of the graphic of the liver, it says phase 1. And if you take a look at all the vitamins that are involved, there's riboflavin, which is vitamin B2, there's niacin, there's B6, folic acid, B12. So the liver actually requires a lot of nutrients in order to help break down fat and to process toxins. So if the diet is deficient in any one of those, it's going to impair your body's ability to properly detoxify and break down your food that you're actually eating as well too. And then phase 2, also you can see also it requires vitamin A, it requires vitamin C, vitamin E, selenium, copper, which are all trace minerals, zinc, coenzyme Q10, bioflavonoids, silymarin, which is milk thistle. Some of you may be familiar with milk thistle as an herb, which is good for the liver, and so on. So this is really, this is very impressive because it really gives you an idea of what we have to take in to make sure our liver is really working at its optimum. So sluggish liver or fatty liver, you'll have a much harder time losing weight. So often doing a healthy liver detox, it really makes a big difference. But that should always be supervised. It shouldn't be something that you actually do on your own when you do something like that. Okay, fluid retention. Now, how many of you know that if you don't drink enough water, you actually retain more fluid, not less fluid? So, and then I just want to go over how much water do we really need to drink on a daily basis, because again, there's a lot of misinformation. Is it 8 cups a day? Is it 10 cups a day? Is it 12 cups a day? How much do we really need? And again, the more accurate way to determine that is really looking at your body weight, all right? And then half of your body weight would be what you would be drinking in ounces of water. So let's say you're 150 pounds. So half of that would be 75 pounds. So 75 ounces of water is what you would be looking to drink on a daily basis. Okay, because 70% of our body is actually water. That's how much water we have in our body. So, just to say that everybody should be drinking 8 cups or 10 cups, it's really not that accurate. Again, from an individual standpoint, much more accurate to base it on your body weight. Okay, so everybody's clear on that?
Dina, does that include like green tea?
Good question. Does that include green tea? It does include green tea, but it does not include black tea, because black tea has a more dehydrating effect. Thank you. Herbal teas are fine, iced herbal teas are fine, water, juices, all that would be counted as part of your fluid intake.